Welcome, everyone. My name is David Kelly. I'm the Program Director for the eLearning Guild, and I'd like to welcome you to another Twist Conversation. Today, I'm happy to be welcoming Karl Kapp from Bloomsburg University, as we're going to discuss games and how they can be applied to learning. Karl, welcome.
Thanks, Dave. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us. You're one of the experts in the field on gaming, but for those of you who may not necessarily know, can you give us a little bit about your background and what you do?
Yeah, so my day job, if you will, is I'm a professor of instructional technology at Bloomsburg University in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania, so northeastern Pennsylvania. And I teach graduate students the instructional design process. And then I also have a blog called Kapp Notes that I talk about gaming and gamification, game thinking, and I've written a number of books about games and gamification, and generally just try to educate people and organizations about how to create interactive learning using tips and techniques from the game industry.
Excellent. And I know gaming is a passion of yours. It's one of the things that you're going to be talking about at DevLearn this year. And gaming is a popular trend. It seems to be gaining a lot more popularity each year that we do the conference. It's become very popular. Why is that? Why do you see gaming as being something that's very popular within the learning and performance field?
Right. I think there's a couple reasons. I think one is a little bit of a backlash. So years ago, people really didn't understand what e-learning could do and what it was about, and so then they just started figuring it out and putting really basic type of page-turning content online. And for a number of years, that was a really good thing to do. But now, with all the interactive elements people have on their smartphones, on their tablets, the fact that they're playing video games, they're saying, wait a minute, can't my e-learning be a little bit more engaging? And let's look at what's really engaging online. And if you look at what's really engaging online, you can see games are really engaging online. So people have grabbed and gravitated toward games for online learning. I think another reason is a lot of people that grew up playing games, I'm sure you grew up playing Pong and then moved to something like Myst and moved to other types of games. We're now in the position to look at e-learning, to hire people, to make decisions about the direction of the organizations, and we're saying, hey, we know how engaging games were for us. Let's apply this to a learning perspective so that people can benefit from being interactive, engaged, and drawn to the types of things that make being online fun. And so I think those two things converging are what's really driving games. And then I think finally there's starting to be a lot of really good research that says, you know what, games in these kind of situations work really well for learning. And so maybe we should apply some of those concepts to what we're doing to educate our workforce, and that's what's happening as well.
So I get the idea. I'm a gamer, and I get the idea that games are engaging and they're fun and they do a lot of stuff. But I'm not learning a hell of a lot when I'm playing Angry Birds for 20 minutes. So it's engaging. It helps me. I enjoy it. But you mentioned at the end there that there's research that shows that games can be applied to help people learn in a structured way. Can you talk a little bit more about that? What, in the terms of gaming, how it applies to learning and how we can use that intentionally to help
Right.
people learn?
Right. So if you look at the research about learning, one of the things that we know that helps people learn is engagement, doing something, making decisions, deciding this or that, figuring out the right next step. And so all of those can be incorporated into a game where we put the learner into. So a lot of times what we do in e-learning is we tell the learner what he or she needs to do. Do this, do this, do this, do that. Don't do this, don't do that, don't do this. And then that's kind of the end of the module. But what games do is say, okay, learner, here's the situation. What are you going to do? And then the learner has to make a decision based on the information that you've given them. So you're forcing them to cognitively think through a decision, make that decision, and then what a game does, or really good instructional design does, is give that feedback immediately. So you're not looking at some content for 4 or 5 screens and then answering a multiple choice question. You're actually being given a chance to make a decision, and then immediately you know if it's the right decision or the wrong decision. And then based on that feedback, you can reorient what you're doing, or it gives you pause to go, oh, I didn't know that because adult learners really learn best when they know they don't know something. So
Hmm.
the just in case training, I'm going to tell you just in case you need it, doesn't really work. But if you point out to the learner, hey, you don't know this because you got this question wrong or you made a wrong decision, then you're like, I need to pay attention. And so games can force us to do that, or techniques in games. It doesn't have to be, one of the things I talk about is it doesn't have to be a full-fledged game. It can be techniques from games because points, badges, and leaderboards, which is what a lot of people think about games, aren't what make it good for learning. So nobody really plays a game for points. They play a game because they master the content, because they can brag to their friends, because they get a sense of satisfaction overcoming something that was difficult. So those are the elements of games that are best for learning. But a lot of times when people, especially I talk about gamification, people go, oh, we'll just add some points. You look at this video and we'll give you 10 points. Well, that's not really the most effective use of game elements. What's more effective is put the learner in the right context, give them immediate feedback, point out what they don't know, give them a little bit of a challenge. Those are the elements of games that really lead to learning.
So, and I think that's a great example. I was out with downstairs with my daughter earlier today. We were playing some games that they had given me for my birthday over the weekend. That was the name of that game. Oh, Abalone. Good game.
Uh,
But it's like a little chess-like board game that we were playing, and you could just see, as she was making a move, I can think about that move before you make it. What are the going to consequences going to be? And you could kind of see the wheels turning. What's interesting to me is I bring that up because there was nothing online about that. There was nothing technologically based. It was just a gaming thing.
right.
So you touched on this at the end. Can you give me a little bit more specifics about some of the elements of games that can be very useful in a learning context?
Right, and you bring up a really good point. A lot of people think gamification has to be digital, but it doesn't. To me, gamification is a design sensibility. So one of the first things is the context in which the learning needs to take place. Like we've taken context out of learning. So story, lots of really good games have story. That's a really good thing to put in. Putting a person at a little bit of risk. Games put you at risk because you have to start over or you have to go back to the beginning. If you don't have risk, you don't have any skin in the game and you don't care what happens. So a lot of times you're going through learning and you don't care if you get the answer right or not or whatever. But in a game, that element of a little bit of risk is what propels a learner through. The other thing a game does is give immediate and continual feedback. So you know, oh, I did this wrong. Oh, okay, now I have to do this. So that's helpful as well. The other thing that really helps is the use of characters. So we know from Bandura's social learning theory that we learn a lot from characters, and we know from some research that we can learn a lot from online characters. So if we put an online character in a game that models behavior for us, that can be really helpful as well. And then challenge. So what we've done, I think, in a lot of learning is taken the challenge out of it. We spoon feed everything to the learner. And if you think of how you spend your free time, or anyone, you challenge yourself to do things. You know, today I'm going to run, I usually run 3 miles. Today I'm going to run 3.5 miles. Or I've never played this game with my daughter before. Today we're going to play a brand new game. The challenge is you got to figure out the rules. You got to make sure that she stays with you while you get it set up. You got to make sure she's enjoying it. So challenge is what drives humans. The other thing that games have that learning tends not to have is open loops. Games start out with mysteries or questions or things that we don't know the result of. But in training, we often start out, we're going to tell you 3 things you should know about closing a sale. And the good salesperson goes, I know 4 things. This is a waste of my time. But if you put it in the form of a question, like, do you know the #1 technique used by our salespeople to close sales? Now you've got my attention. So by using those kind of techniques, we can build a really engaging learning by borrowing the best from games and leaving this stuff like points and badges kinds of at home. It doesn't mean that they're horrible or bad. They just need to be used in conjunction with these other elements.
Excellent. And the thing that you said, one of the things that you said that really resonated with me was that this is the way of thinking of design differently. The way
Mm-hmm.
it's fundamentally a way of thinking design differently. And I know that that's what you're going to be exploring when you do your full day workshop at DevLearn this October. So if I'm going to be attending your workshop this October, can you give me an idea of what my experience is going to be like throughout that day?
Oh yeah. First of all, it's going to be a lot of fun. We always have a really good time in this workshop and everybody learns a lot. But what we're going to start out with is playing a couple of games to level set everyone so that they can understand. And we're going to play cooperative games. A lot of times when people think of games, they think of competition. But there's a lot of cooperative games, especially in the learning space. So we're going to talk about cooperative games and how that works. And we're going to talk about a little bit about scoring, and we're going to talk about play testing. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff. But then the really engaging and exciting part for me and for Sharon as we do the workshop is you're going to prototype a game. So what will happen is we'll give you a little bit of time and some craft stuff, some paper, some scissors, some game pieces, spinners, dice, and you and a team are going to work on a game to teach something. So you're going to have both a learning objective and a game objective, and you're going to paper prototype the whole thing. Then when you're done, you're going to take your game to another group of workshop participants, and they're going to play it. And they're going to give you feedback on what really worked in the game, what didn't work in the game, what to change, and then you bring your game back and you modify those, and then we report out to the whole group. So the majority of the day is going to be spent applying the game concept. So I always say, if we look at Maslow's hierarchy, the very highest is to actually synthesize ideas and create something. And that's what we're going to do in the workshop. You're actually going to create a game. There's no better way to learn about game creation than to actually create a prototype game, and that's what we're going to do.
It sounds like a great time. And I know you guys have done workshops like this for us in the past. I always walk around, check out how things are going at the workshops, and I love stopping by the workshops that you and Sharon do because the energy is just outstanding in the room. People are having a great time while they're learning. It's just you guys create a great experience. So I'm really looking forward to having that on DevLearn's conference program again this year.
Great, yeah, we love seeing all the games and the creative ideas of the attendees. It's a lot of fun, and I can't wait to do it again.
Excellent.
Great.
Well, if you want to learn more about Karl's workshop and all the other workshops and events that are going on, visit our website, devlearn14.com. DevLearn Conference and Expo takes place in Las Vegas this October 29th through 31st, with workshops taking place on the 28th and the 27th, including Karl's workshop. Again, visit devlearn14.com for all the details, including information about Karl and Sharon's workshop. Karl, I wanted to thank you for spending some time today with me talking about games and your workshop coming up this October.
Thanks, David. Take care. See you later.
All right, take care, everybody. We'll see you next time on Twist Conversations. Bye-bye now.